Hi, this is Cheryl back with you from Farmhouse, Frugally, and today we are doing fall. I am going to start with items number 1 and 2, which are these little baskets, which are quite adorable. My husband actually got, yes, for free on the good table at our dump, so I cleaned them up and they were actually in excellent shape, but I don't love those apples that are here in the top. So I'm just taking some clay and an IOD mold, and I am going to go ahead and just glue this clay trim all around to hide those apples, and then match up another piece, glue that on, get that seamed together, and then let that thoroughly dry. And it may crack a little bit, does happen with clay, and then go ahead and do the same thing to the second basket. This way it can still be used for fall. Obviously can be used for any season, but just doesn't really have that 1980s, 90s apple feel with it. And I think this just elevates this a little bit. And then once those are fully dry, I am going to go ahead and take this Rust-Oleum antiquing glaze, but it can work as a stain as well, and so it'll work both over the clay as well as the basket. Brush that on, take a paper towel and wipe that back as much or as little as you like, and I'm going to cover the entire outside of both of these baskets. I love the vintage look, so I'm going to keep it a little darker, but if you wanted less, you could certainly do less, or you could do a wax. Cover it with a clear wax first. Here's the difference. One is and one is not waxed. And then once I have them finished, I am putting them on my mantle. And this year I decided to keep my mantle rather understated. I don't want my whole house full of pumpkins. I want to have a variety of things for fall. Items for me that I think are very fall-like are acorns and pine cones and greenery. And actually this year I decided to use quite a bit of the color green and keep this a little bit more, I guess you would say, neutral rather than a whole lot of orange. Although I'll have orange pops throughout my house, in this particular area I am going to keep this room fairly neutral. Because this challenge for 5 under 5 is pumpkins and pine cones, I filled one with each. This collaboration is hosted monthly by Emily at Farm Charm Chic, so make sure you check out her channel as well as the other creators who have joined in. For this second item, I'm going to use the new 2025 holiday release mold called Winter Forage. And this one is one of the few fall items I found in that lineup. Most of it was Christmas, but I'm not ready for Christmas. I want to live in the moment. I do not want to jump right in. It is September 1st. I am not ready. I am not going to skip over fall. I am going to take some time here. So you will see many creators doing Christmas if that's what you want. But otherwise, stay with me. I have this lovely metal container also from the good table at the dump, but I'm not a fan of the paper bear, so it took me quite a while to soak that off, and it did leave a little bit of glue residue. So what I've done is taken equal parts water and equal parts of a milk paint, and giving some texture, I'm going to kind of put a thicker coat on this entire planter, I guess. I'm not sure what exactly its intended purpose was. I actually love how old and vintage it is, but I do want, again, to keep this fairly neutral. What I love about milk paint on metal is that it does crack phenomenally. If you put it kind of thick, you will get these large cracks like you are seeing here with the heat gun. And then I usually like that on my first coat. And then if that's a little too big, I water down my second coat just a little bit. And then when I put my second coat over it, the cracking does seem to be a little less large. So here I am watering down that second coat. I am going to cover that lightly over the entire thing, and then again take my heat gun and go ahead and dry that for a little bit less large cracks, and then I'm just going to clean up the top and bottom edge. And then it's a little harder to clean items with this milk paint. It dries very quickly, so keep that in mind. You do not want to wait overnight for sure. It's a lot harder if you do. And then I am going to go in with this gorgeous mold, and I am going to use just two parts of it here, but I do definitely want to use cornstarch because it is very, very detailed and intricate, and the more detailed it is, the more difficult it is to get the mold out of the clay out of the mold. So you definitely would like to use cornstarch, I think, with this one. And then once I get both a green piece and a pine cone done, then I'm going to use my quick and thick glue and going to just go ahead and apply both of these pieces to the front of this. I want this one a little bit understated. If you are looking for something very detailed with this mold, then make sure you're subscribed, because I have a gorgeous item coming up that has a lot of the clay molds from this particular new mold, which I think is coming out so gorgeous. So make sure that you hit subscribe so you do not miss that. Then once I get both of these glued down and let those dry, I'm going to put a thin coat of that same milk paint over the mold. I don't want to fill in those beautiful areas of detail, but I do want the color to be the same. So then once this milk paint is dry, I'm going to go ahead with that same antiquing glaze, and I'm going to glaze over the entire thing. The antiquing glaze does appear to go on very, very dark, but it is easily wiped back. If you use an antique wax, that does go very dark and is harder to wipe back. So highly recommend you put on a clear wax underneath an antiquing wax if you want to be able to wipe it back. And then on this particular item, it did leave a halo around the clay that I wasn't really crazy about. So once I get the entire thing glazed and wiped back, I do go back with a tiny bit, you don't need much at all, of the white wax that I have on hand, and I just sort of erase that halo look around that clay, and I think that that really just made it exactly what I was looking for. And so, you know, it just takes an extra second to do that, but it makes a world of difference to get the look that you're going for. And then if you kind of pounce with the paper towel into the details, you can take out any excess glaze that has sort of pooled there. You want some, but you don't want pools of it. And then here it is. Oh my goodness, I absolutely love this. I am keeping this for myself. I think that it is just absolutely perfect for my style, very neutral, definitely says fall without screaming fall. And here on this table, I did use a few pops of orange and red tones, a little bit more of the traditional tones for fall, but again, understated, just one pumpkin. And let me know what you think about this more neutral feel for fall. And that is items 1, 2, and 3, and that will take me on to item number 4. I am trying very hard to work through my stash and not spend any extra money, and to get some of this stuff out of my craft room. So I am using some of the items in front of me. This is a tray, I guess. It is wood, again, free, or maybe I got it at Goodwill for less than $1. I'm not sure. So I had these very shiny type of transfers that I had gotten, goodness, a couple of years ago now, and it just was a huge pack of florals. So I picked out any of the ones that were in the fall tones, and they work better to be applied directly to an item that is not painted. If they're so sticky, they peel the paint up. So you have to be very, very careful with that. But I do like the look of them directly on wood, and the tone of this wood was already a very pretty color. So I am going to use a whole bunch of different ones, and I'm going to layer them one on top of the other, and I am simply going to rub them down and peel them back. If you slide it close to it, and just sort of slowly slide it. It works the best. It comes right off, and you don't even really have to press it down much at all. Then once I have the bulk of the florals on here, then I want to go ahead and fix the butterfly's wing, and then I want to pull out a couple of other items that I had. These pretty little, what are these called? Dragonfly. And once I had that done, I found another floral that sort of matched that for the bottom, added another dragonfly to the bottom of this. And then, of course, I had to add either pine cones or pumpkins. So I am going to add a couple stacked pumpkins at the bottom for this challenge. And I have this in my bathroom. Again, it is more neutral, a little bit more muted color tone going on here in this room, with a lot more peachy cream colors. And I think this lends itself to spring, summer, fall. It can be used for all of the season. Taking me on to my final project, which are these two tiles, which are ceramic and were also, yes, on the good table at my dump. I don't really like them, so I am painting them over with gray, because in my dining room I have a very pretty gray, and I had bought some dishes a couple years ago at an antique store that looks so lovely with this, so I thought I would add some pumpkins and create a couple in there. I grew gold gray pumpkins and got a pretty graphic I can use. Since I'm not selling it, you can download any picture if you're not selling it. And so I just went ahead and used my waterproof Mod Podge to attach those, going over the tops several times, and then pulled out some distress ink to get some brown into this, making them look a little vintage, but also to add some of the colors from the rest of my displays. I have displayed them in my dining room on the hutch with a number of other items against that beautiful gray wall. That color is Mountaintop. I don't remember if it was Sherwin-Williams or what brand, but I love how these came out with the pewter and the white ironstone and the other neutrals that I have in my dining room. So then I put them on the other side of the dining room, just on a small display that I had with a few other pieces of that gorgeous gray and white dishware that I had purchased a number of years ago at an antique store. And love, love, love. So let me know what you think. Please subscribe if you haven't. Please leave a comment. That really helps my channel. And I will see you in the next one. Thanks for stopping by. Take care.